Hi, it's your buddy Bob. Got my chauffeur's cap on. We're back for another edition of Rock and Roll Travelogue, and we're searching out the pop and rock artists of the 1950s to 90s. And we're still in one of the most beautiful cities in the U.S. today, Seattle. And we're downtown for an important venue. And then we're outside the city and eventually headed south on Interstate 5 for Oregon. Well, here's the famous Edgewater Hotel at 2411 Alaskan Way. It overlooks the Olympic Mountains and Elliott Bay, just absolutely beautiful. The Beatles stayed here when they came to the U.S. the first time. There is a Beatles suite as well as a Pearl Jam suite at the Edgewater. Pearl Jam, of course, are Seattle natives. Well, pictures of bands who've stayed at the Edgewater adorn the lobby area, including Led Zeppelin, Dave Clark 5, the Monkees, and more. So let's head out now to a beautiful neighborhood with a view of Lake Washington. We're at 171 East Lake Washington Boulevard, and this is where Nirvana lead singer Kurt Cobain lived when he killed himself. And here's a view of the lake across the street from his home, which is heavily enclosed today so as not to attract more Cobain fans than normal. He died in April of 1994 while married to Courtney Love, who was the lead singer of the band Hole. He was 27 at the time, the same age as previous rockers Jimi Hendrix from Seattle, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Brian Jones of the Stones. Well, this is Viretta Park, next door to Kurt Cobain's house. The memorial is kept intact by fans, I'm told. I was walking through the park and I met friendly dog walkers who said that the park can get really overcrowded on the anniversary of Kurt's death, which is April 5th. And the sign on the bench is a famous quote of Kurt Cobain. It says, "If my eyes could show my soul, everyone would cry when they saw me smile." Well, let's go over to Ballard now. That's on the northwest corner of Seattle. And in this area, we're at 1438 Northwest 46th Street. This is where the famous Music Bank studio was located. And this is where grunge bands like Alice in Chains and Mother Love Bone would hang out. Alice in Chains released a box set in 1999 called Music Bank in tribute to the place. Now, the studios are no longer there, and with the help of a local musician, I pinpointed this area approximately, taken from the parking lot of the CPP Community Markets, as the location of the famous Music Bank studios. The lead vocalist of Alice in Chains, Lane Staley, lived here at times, actually lived here. In 2019, the city of Seattle proclaimed August 22nd, his birthday, as Lane Staley Day in honor of his musical contributions. And by the way, in 1993, the Music Bank was the scene of the largest cannabis raid in the history of the state of Washington. Well, around the corner at 4230 Leary Way Northwest is this triangular-shaped Hall of Justice recording, formerly called Reciprocal Recording. All the grunge acts we've talked about, many of them, would record here in the 80s and 1990s. Well, speaking of recording studios, let's go northwest about 25 minutes to Shoreline, Washington, where the famous Robert Lang Studio is located. In this home, the Foo Fighters recorded here. Of course, the Foo Fighters were founded upon the death of Kurt Cobain and the breakup of Nirvana. This home is located among other homes just like it in a lovely neighborhood with these absolutely beautiful views. Now, the Foo Fighters' first album, called Foo Fighters, was recorded at Robert Lang Studio, and they gave us This Is a Call, I'll Stick Around, and Big Me. Other acts recording at Robert Lang Studios include Seattle's Heart and Sir Mix-a-Lot. Now, the Foo Fighters' second album, The Color and Shape, had hits Monkey Wrench and My Hero. That was recorded at nearby Bear Creek Studios in rural Woodinville. What a beautiful place. Other grunge acts recorded here as well. And Lionel Richie recorded here. And Eric Clapton recorded here. Tours are available, and you can get overnight accommodations on the grounds, too. Lucky you. Absolutely beautiful, peaceful place. Well, I'll mention two other Washington State artists. One is Gary Puckett from Yakima, Washington. He headed up Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. By the way, Union Gap is near Yakima. It's a little town. Gary Puckett in the Union Gap in the late 1960s. In 1968, they sold more records than anybody, with 4 hits: Woman, Woman, Young Girl, Lady Willpower, and Over You. Another Washington State artist is Marilee Rush, who had the original on Angel of the Morning in 1968, later covered by Juice Newton in the 70s. Now, I've got a trivia question for you. Who wrote Angel of the Morning? I'm going to give you a clue. It's Angelina Jolie's uncle. So you still don't know? Well, he wrote under the name of Chip Taylor, but his real name was James Voight, the brother of John Voight, who's the father of Angelina Jolie. Angel of the Morning was a softer song. Chip Taylor, or James Voight, whichever you prefer, penned another song, totally different, louder, brash, a rock legend. That song? Wild Thing. I Think I Love You. Wow. So now you know. Well, quickly, 2 other Washington State pop acts, the Ventures from Tacoma, are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, best known for their Walk Don't Run in the early 60s. And Kenny G, the smooth jazz saxophonist, is from Seattle. In the mid-1980s, he gained fame with his album Duotones, featuring Songbird and Don't Make Me Wait for Love. Time now to get south on Interstate 5 to Portland, Oregon, and we're at 411 Southwest 13th Avenue. This was Northwest Recording Studios, actually Northwestern Recording Studios, and this is where the song Louie Louie was recorded twice in a period of a week or so. First, it was recorded by a Portland band, the Kingsmen, who had the biggest hit on it. And this calypso-styled song was first done by the writer of the song, Richard Barry, in 1957. Now, the other band that recorded Louie Louie was Portland and Boise, Idaho-based Paul Revere and the Raiders. Wow, what an incredible-looking building this is. Look at that. It's the Edith Green Wendell Federal Building at 1220 Southwest 3rd in downtown Portland. And this display is on the wall inside. It was created in 2013 by Tim Bavington in honor of Louie Louie being recorded by 2 different bands in Portland, and here's a little explanation on the wall. Now, speaking of Paul Revere and the Raiders, they were formed in Boise, Idaho, where Paul Revere Dick was living. He became Paul Revere, and he met Mark Lindsay in Boise, and they formed a band that would become the house band for the TV show Where the Action Is in the mid-'60s. The band had several rock hits, including Just Like Me and Kicks in the 60s, and a number 1 in 1971 called Indian Reservation. Well, we're going to wrap up this edition of Rock and Roll Travelogue as we drive about 4 hours south to Williams, Oregon. It's near Medford in southern Oregon. Here at 14615 Water Gap Road is the home of Steve Miller of the Steve Miller Band. Steve lived here in the 70s, 80s. The home is on the National Register of Historic Places. Steve was a high school buddy and former bandmate of 70s star Boz Scaggs. You remember he had Lowdown, What Can I Say, and the Lido Shuffle. Well, Steve had his first number 1 with the Joker in 1974, then another in 76 with Rockin' Me. Other major 70s hits included Fly Like an Eagle and Take the Money and Run. And in 1982, Abracadabra went to number 1. Steve Miller is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, it's time for me to bounce. We'll see you next time on Rock and Roll Travelogue. We're going to head to San Francisco. Until then, this is your buddy Bob saying good heart and stout luck.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.